This is the Technician Commitment Podcast,
a podcast sharing stories, ideas, and opportunities from the technician commitment community.
Driving change together.
I'm Charli Corcoran, lead animal care technician at the Institute of Aquaculture at the University of Stirling.
My name is Michael Bayliss. I am the senior IT and AV technician within the School of Histories, Languages and Cultures at the University of Liverpool.
This podcast is created by the sector for the sector.
Today we are joined by Jiteen Ahmed, a Head of Technical Services at the University of Aston and the Times Higher Award-winning Outstanding Technician of the Year 2025.
Thank you.
Jiteen is known for his transformative leadership, championing technical professionals and reshaping how technical services support teaching, research, and innovation. His work has had impact not just at Aston, but across the higher education sector nationally.
Well, welcome, Jiteen, to the podcast. All I can say is welcome to begin with. You are our first guest.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much.
Can you tell us now, and our listeners, a little bit about your journey, how you started out as a technician, how you arrived at your current role, just to get the viewers to know who you are, basically.
Sure, I can. So I started out in 1998 as an apprentice at Aston University. So I was a young lad. My parents wanted me to, when I was a young lad, my parents wanted me to do medicine, pharmacy, or law. So it was one of those routes that they sort of said, well, this is guaranteed income. If you do that, you should do these things. So unfortunately, my A-levels didn't come out very well. So imagine going home to your very proud parents to be, and I'm like, here's what I got. So they were very unhappy with the results. So I remember going to a careers place at my college, and I sort of sat down and I said, look, I really like science, but I'm obviously, in my head at the time, I thought I'm probably not good enough to do a degree or whatever. So, and I said, but I really like being in the labs, I really want to do stuff in the labs. And so one of the careers advisors had said, well, actually, Aston University is doing an apprenticeship program for people who would like to be a lab tech. And I said, oh, okay. So I applied, and thankfully I got the role. And it's been a really fun journey to sort of in terms of the role itself. So 98 started as apprentice. 2000 I became a technician after my successful completion of my apprenticeship program itself. And then I decided to negotiate with the university and say to them, would you be willing to fund my degree? So they funded my Open University degree at the time. And I was given the opportunity to look after an area, the Drug Delivery Research Group, which was which had about, I think at the time, 6 or 7 really heavily research active academics, and at the same time look after pharmacy and bioscience practicals. So if you think about making tablets, to go into biosciences where I was doing things like gel electrophoresis and stuff like that, so I could put my skills that I learned in my apprenticeship into practice. Over the years after that, I then took on a role became a senior technician. And at the time, my then technical services manager, it was called then, said to me, look, the Southern Universities Purchase Consortia are looking for representatives for their STEM Ed category. Would you be willing to attend? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So, and that was a good experience for me, and it still is. It's something I'm still championing and working with at the moment. And then, of course, I became a technical team leader, and alongside the way, as you do, you build up a new set of skills and sort of things that you to help you with your role. So I took on the radiation role, being a radiation protection supervisor, became a technical team leader. First time ever managing a group of technicians. And it was quite a daunting experience because some of those technicians were people who were training me in my apprenticeship. So I was going, wow. Hi, I'm now going to be telling you what to do, not the other way around. So that was a hard piece of cultural work to do. So, having to understand how we could change that mindset from I was being I was guided or trained to do what I was told to. Now, well, I don't do this in management, but you do as I told kind of set of management skills. So it was different, and we did really well. Our team was very good. We looked after pharmacy only at the time then, because we started to become technical teams for the subject areas itself.
Yeah.
And then I applied and got the head of technical services role in HLS, which was the health and life sciences. During that time, we had already signed up to what was called the technician. Well, what is called the technician commitment, I should say. Sorry, and I was quite keen at the time to champion that, because at the time I was going through a scenario where I could see my technical team in terms of the workforce was a much more experienced workforce. And I kept saying, well, if they leave, how do we backfill the skills and everything else? And I kept asking the academic, well, my then head of pharmacy and other academics, I said, well, how do we do this? And they were keen as well to ensure that vital skill set wasn't lost as well. So when we signed up to technician commitment, I was really keen to deliver that. I said, I don't want to do this if we're not doing this properly. So we agreed that we would do this in a proper way. And it's worked really well. You can see our technicians flourishing really well. You can see them being recognized for a lot of things. We've had technicians who do outreach. We've had technicians who've been on research grants, patents. It's just exploded, and it's in a good way, in the sense that people are now going, well, actually, without technicians, things can't happen in a variety of ways. So then, obviously, when I took on this role because it's really confusing. I was head of technical services for HLS, and now I'm head of technical services for the whole university, which is
a massive jump, isn't it?
It is, and something I got in 2025 on the same week that I got the award.
Oh, what a week!
It was so bizarre, right? So I was absolutely nervous because I went for this interview, and I didn't think I didn't stand a chance of winning the award. I actually thought, well, no, the others are really good, so there's no chance of me winning it. So I thought, well, at least I can celebrate one thing if I get the role. Exactly. So I got the role, which was really good. And then to be surprised by the fact that, oh, congratulations, you've also won this. I was a bit, whoa, hold on.
That's amazing. Double celebration.
It was a double celebration. But yeah, I don't know, it was quite overwhelming, to be fair, that week. But going back to my former role in health and life sciences as the head of technical services, I attended and I'm Aston's representative on what's called the Midlands Innovations Technical Strategy Committee, and through there they did they applied for a grant, which ended up being the talent program. Yes. I was very fortunate to be involved in that program, whether it was as a commissioner for this first strand, to even just helping with some of the teaching or training stuff and things like that, and even just being a champion to our technical community and saying, actually, there's funds available to go, on placements or whatever it was. So, to enable them to do stuff. And again, it was just nice to see that in action. And so, yeah, I've had a varied career, if you want to say. It's not a traditional career where you go, I've been a technician, then I become this and I become that. It's been one where I've gained skill sets along the way and taken on responsibilities along the way. So whether it was radiation protection supervisor, or I then became chair of the SUPC STEM Ed National Group, then I became chair of the STEM Ed Strategy Group. So I took on a lot, and then at the same time, when I talk about patents, I've got a spin out myself. I've got shareholding in a spin out, Aston Particle Technologies. So it's a lot of things, and I guess for me, I'm one of those people who likes challenges, which is sometimes to my wife's detriment, because she says, "Oh God, what have we signed up to today?" But I think that's why my career reflects that way, because I like challenge. I like to do some stuff, and I love helping people out. So for me, my career's just gone all over the place is probably the right word, but in a good way. Managed.
You've hit the nail on the head by literally saying, I like to help people out. Like, that is the forefront, I think, of what a technician is, really, isn't it? I just want to help people. Like that,
and challenges as well.
And challenges,
yeah.
It's a fantastic career you've got, and it's really fantastic to see that you do it at the same institution. You've you sort of apprentice and then moved into the job role. It's fantastic to see you stayed in the role for so many years and you've progressed up and up and up. Whereas we know, and a lot of technicians know, without sort of these new pathways that have come in, that glass ceiling is there, and a lot of universities lose a lot of technicians.
Yes,
due to the career pathways. So it's fantastic to see that you've stuck to your guns and stayed in the same place. Look at you now, like head of technical services for the whole university. It's insane.
It is insane, and I would say that Aston has looked after me really well. When you work hard, you're rewarded in Aston. And to be fair, I'm just very privileged. We have a wonderful group of people, our academic right from the leadership all the way to the academic community, all the way to the technical community, to our student community, to professional service. Everyone's lovely. So it's just nice working at Aston. And I think for me, the biggest thing was that I was recognized for my efforts, when we did stuff in research, my first ever paper, oh gosh, I think it was about 2010, 2011. So having a technician's name on a research paper then was really hard work. When you say to somebody, can we have that? It's really hard. And actually, I didn't ask for that. It just happened. A PhD student said, I'd like to put you on this paper because you helped me out with this. And I was like, oh, okay. And I remember putting it on at the time Facebook because that was one of those things that you had, right? So
if it didn't happen on Facebook, it didn't happen, right?
Yeah. So I was like one of the status, I've got paper. And it was something I felt really, and that was when I started to feel like my work was being validated. People started to say, actually, we can recognize what you do. And when the technician commitment started in 2017, that was when I sort of also thought, well, actually, going back to that time of the paper, I was like, actually, this is a moment now where we can expand that to the wider technical community now that there's appetite from the executive to do something about the technician. So, yeah, I think for me, the reason I stayed a long time at Aston was purely because, I was recognised and Aston was really good at doing that, but also the people. It's the people that make it work, and to be honest with you, to have an opportunity for me to drive down to Reading University to have meetings with other universities for the SUPC, to just going where is it? We're off for York University for the technician commitment signature event, or in London, or even just collaborating with other universities. It's just nice, to be honest with you. So to have that opportunity at not just Aston, but everywhere else, it's just good.
It's such a good illustration, your story and your career, of how important the technician commitment pillars are. Everything you've mentioned there, like career pathway and recognition, are things that have really kind of helped your career and pushed you forward. They're all included in that technician commitment. So when you heard you were shortlisted for the Outstanding Technician Award, what was your immediate reaction?
So I was taking Sarah, so my little girl, my daughter, to school that day because her mum just had an operation. So I thought, I'll take Sarah to school. And I knew something was happening because my university was asking me questions like, what were your top 3 things that you've done really well and all this. And I thought, that's a bit weird, but okay. And they even said we might put in for this. We're quite curious with, we want to do it, but we might do. So I didn't think anything of it. And actually, I just carried on with work. Went to drop Sarah off to school, and then I thought, why is my phone buzzing so many times?
Blow it up.
All those LinkedIn notifications.
Yeah. LinkedIn, WhatsApp, emails, texts. And I thought, what's going on? And I thought, oh God, is something happening at home? So I went and I looked at my phone and I thought, well, it's not something bad if everyone's saying congratulations. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I remember going home, telling my wife, and she just looked at me and went, wow, that's amazing. And I'll be honest with you, probably for a good 5-10 minutes, I thought, wow, this is great. This is perfect. I'm so grateful. But at the same time, I was just like, okay, I've got to get on with work. So I think in my brain, it was like, I'm one of those people who don't tend to dwell on success that long, because I guess for me, it's like getting the work done, the graft done and things like that. And that's not to downplay it. I feel really privileged, and I am still privileged and honored that was recognized. And amongst the other candidates, 7 other candidates who, I'll be honest with you, any one of those could have won it, should have won it. They are amazing. I remember actually saying, so I was on the train journey to Edinburgh, and I was sitting next to a lady who was also going to the Times Higher Education, but she was going for a different category. And she goes, "Oh, what are you shortlisted for?" And I said, "Oh, just for the outstanding technician." But I said, "But don't worry, I'm only going up for a trip because I don't think I'm going to win anything. So I'm only going in smartly dressed up and enjoying the evening and
nice day out."
Yeah, that's it. That's all I thought. I never really thought I'd win it. To be shortlisted was a real honor, and like I say, and that day I just thought, okay, I've been shortlisted. I remember telling we had a team meeting with my manager and a few others, and they went, "Oh, okay, cool, great." And I just thought, okay, yeah, so got to get on with my work. So I think for me at the time, I was like shocked, really shocked. I kept looking at the screen, thinking there's an error. I remember that. I kept thinking, nah, that's not right. And I kept looking on the Times, going, nah, that's not my name.
Did I misread my name?
Yeah. That was the one thing I kept going, no, really? No, that's not my name. And I remember asking my wife, can you just double check?
Yeah.
And I checked it the next day because I thought any moment now they go, really sorry, that was an error.
I relate to that so much.
You can understand, right? You just think, no,
totally.
it can't be me. It just really can't be me. And and I was really touched by personal messages that people were sending me on the day, like, really glad it's you. And people actually direct message. I think that's what DM means. So they DM'd me about how they were inspired, and I just thought, no, this is getting silly, really. But I thought, okay, cool. But I was taken aback, to be honest, as well. But at the same time, for a good month, I kept checking. I was waiting for an email saying, really sorry, made a mistake.
I'm not going to lie. I think that is every technician who I think is shortlisted for the Times Higher Award thinks the exact same thing. You get a bit like... the nicest way possible. You're just doing your job, and you're doing your job, but you get nominated for this. They call it the Oscars of the technician world, don't they? And you get nominated for that, and you're like, and then shortlisted out of 8 technicians in the country.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to it hits you in the gut a little bit. Like, I'm the best of 8. Like, what?
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
You've done your job. You've done. You don't need to do it anymore. And then you going out and win it, which is that pushes you above. You could say above the rest, and proving that your job is loved by many, and what you do is vital by many.
I guess so. I mean,
it's hard to still compute. I can tell. I can see it in your voice is here in your face.
I was emotional, and I still am, to be honest. When I think back to that night, I was like, I remember. So Kelly was going around to the shortlisted tables and saying hello and whatnot. And I said to Kelly, I don't know why I asked her. I said, "So how are you going to choose who's the winner out of all of that? That's just amazing." And then she just goes, she explained how the process worked. And I was like, oh, wow, that's brilliant. And then I said, well, I'm looking forward to clapping whoever wins. And she just was like, great, okay. And she went off. And when she called my name, and I remember on the tape, because Aston was shortlisted for 4 awards at the time. So, and our vice chancellor came up and says, I feel it, I'm sure one of you is going to be the winner. And I just thought, it's not going to be me, it's going to be business school and Leon's work with the Villa project. So I thought, no chance with me. Business school didn't win, didn't win, and I thought, okay. So then the next team didn't, and I thought, okay. So there's just me and Leon left, and I thought, Leon's definitely going to win it. And when my name got called out, I was like, huh? And I was really emotional. I was close to tears, and I was thinking, I've got to hold it in because I've got to go up. And I kept putting my head in my hands, thinking that can't be me. And looking at the screen, going, any moment now they're going to go, oh, wrong person, which would be really cruel, but understandable. It happens, isn't it? I'm sure it happened in the Oscars itself. So that night, I remember. So what? there's something I should say. My daughter suffers from separation anxiety, so whenever I have to stay overnight, I have to tell her I have to work somewhere. So that night, she FaceTimed me on Teams, not Teams, sorry, FaceTimed on the phone, and I had to pretend I was doing work on my laptops, going, "I'm doing some data analysis, dear. Are you okay?" Just like, "Oh, Daddy, are you going to be okay? Are you going to eat?" And I said, "Don't worry, Daddy's going to have to stay at work and sleep in the office somewhere tonight, but don't worry, it's going to be fine." "Okay, Daddy, have a lovely day." And then when I won the award, I remember messaging my wife going, "OMG, I've won the award." And then she replied back, "OMG, what are we going to tell the kid?" And then I told her the next day, and I said to her, "Sarah, Daddy's got something to confess." And she said, "Oh yeah." I said, "You know when Daddy was shortlisted for an award?" And she goes, yeah. And you said you weren't going to win it." I said, "Yeah, well, guess what?" And then I showed her the trophy, and she just gave me the massive hug, and she went, "Wow, congratulations, Dad." And I was just like really chuffed. So for me, and I'm still emotional thinking about it, like I was taken aback, and I still felt like others should have won it. I remember saying to Kelly when I went up the stage and went, "Can't be me, this can't be me," and I was quite taken aback, and she was like, "It is you, it's your name." And she gave me the envelope. I've still got it at home with my name. And
wow.
So every time you need to remind yourself that it was you, you can just check that envelope.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. But you know, the others were amazing, the other 7, and that's why I say that, you know, you have to take the time to recognize the other 7 who were
absolutely,
and who are as well, very amazing people. And I refuse to sit there and celebrate just me. I think every meeting I've had where people rate it, I went, there were 7 others as well who were just as good.
Definitely, you know? Definitely. Across the country, out of eight of you, like they were recognised by their own institutions to be the best of the best. So you all deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it had to be one winner. That's the long and short of it, really, isn't it? But we can't take it away from the other 7. As much as we can't take it away from you, they all deserve to be there. The shortlisting's amazing, no matter you win it or not, you're still being recognised, which is what the whole point of technician commitment is about, isn't it? So definitely.
The technician commitment did interviews with all of the nominees, the shortlisted nominees. So what we'll do is we'll make sure when we've got our footnotes for the show that we'll link to all those interviews in the footnotes, so that everyone, if listeners, to find out more about all the all the shortlisted nominees, you can just go to our footnotes and read about everyone.
No, definitely.
Having received the award for the Time Title, can you see we've got a pattern of conversation? Having received the award, has it changed anything for you? Do others see you differently in your technical role, or do they approach you differently at work? Do you get more work because of it? How has it been since winning the award? Do you go in with your trophy held up high?
I don't know. I should do it like the Champions League, like, go on an open bus tour.
Yes.
Like, I wanted to do an open trolley tour, like sit on top of a trolley, like you get briefed by a technician holding the trophy, but nobody's going to celebrate that, right? They're all busy in their offices and lectures and whatnot. So, sorry, repeat that question again. So, how's life been since I've won the award?
Basically, how's it been? How's work changed? Has work changed? Has it got more? Have you got more work? Have you set your standards now? You've Times Higher Technician of the Year. Like, your standards now, you need to keep high to keep going. Are you putting more pressure on yourself now? How do you think? How has it been since winning?
I think you're right about the pressure side. So you do put more pressure on yourself. And I think for me, the standards are always going to be high. I've always done that from a young age to now, that I've always set high standards of myself and to an extent to others as well. I think for me, I've had lots of, can we chat with you? Can we meet with you? Can we understand more? I think this is amazing. I think that's amazing sort of questions. I think I've been invited to give talks, which is cool. It's great. I think for me and Aston, it's brought more visibility. Yes. I won't lie. So there's more visibility, and so you're Jiteen. You okay? Can you help us out with this and that and the other? In fact, this morning I went into the exec from university, to our professional services building, John Cadbury House, and on the top floor is where the university exec is, and there's a picture of me talking about collaboration, and I was like, oh wow, I'm going to put that on LinkedIn today at some point. But I was like, wow, you don't expect to see that, if you think about the journey from being an apprentice, you never think you'd see a picture at an executive in the executive level, so it's quite surprising. But yeah, I think for me, it's been very busy. A lot more people now that I'm in this new role, being in as a university head of technical services, if you want to put it that way. There's a lot more recognition that of what I can bring to the table, of what our technical services can bring to the table. So people are inviting me into lots more different meetings than I was previously privy to or had attended, which is good. And I think there's a lot more respect of, okay, so we've seen the success here of the technical community. Can that transpire into other communities? And how would that look? So that's been quite good. But I think for me personally, I think I suffer a little bit of imposter syndrome. So every now and then I think, no way. But so every morning I quickly peek to have a look at the trophy just to remind myself who I am, sort of thing. And it's something my daughter did, actually. She took me one day and said, would a loser ever win that, Daddy? And I just went, oh, okay. Because one day she saw me and I just went, I'm really tired. I'm one of these losers. I'm not really good at my job. And she just looked at me and grabbed me and went, would a loser ever win that, Daddy? You're a winner, Daddy. So I was like, yeah, okay, that's really touching. But for me, how life has been since I won the award, I think for me, I'm still normal Jit in the sense of what I do. And I'm still very passionate. In fact, now I'm more braver in terms of what I'd like to do. I'm more like, I'd like to try this avenue and see what it does. I'm more confident in terms of approaching the university exec and saying, can I talk to you about this? I'd like to discuss this and this and this. And but like I say, it's brought more visibility, which is good as well. So it's been a mix of a lot of good things.
Can we touch slightly on the imposter syndrome you just mentioned? Because I think that's quite a common thing, probably with everyone, but with technicians, is that I don't think I belong here. I'm just a technician. I don't,
I'm just doing my job.
They
are the old sayings.
It is, and I think for me, it's on multiple layers. So definitely, as a technician, it's really strange. We as a community are one of those who just love to get on with it, get things done, whether it's to make it more safe, making sure that students learn, innovation happens, whatever it is. But then at the same time, when we get recognized, we're like, oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Great. Thank you so much. And then we bury ourselves back in to doing the activity itself. In the Asian community, the word technician isn't seen as an alternative to the pharmacy, lawyer, medicine kind of thing. So for me, there's that imposter syndrome. So when I'm meeting other members of the Asian community, I'm a doctor, I've got a PhD, or I've got a pharmacy, or I've got a this or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm a technician. Then they go, what's one of those? So it's enabled me to open up more about what we do as a technical community, to the point where my mother-in-law, when she's on the phone to people back home in Bangladesh, she'll say, my son-in-law is a technician. She's quite proud to tell people that. And my nephew and nieces are as well. So, I struggled with imposter syndrome as a result of some of the things that's happened in my upbringing. But I think as well, like I say, being in the role, you kind of think, well, I'm in a room full of professors. I'm in a room full of academics who you put a status to, in the sense you say, well, they got a PhD or they got a whatever it is.
Yeah.
But actually, your knowledge is just as good as theirs, and your experience is just as good as theirs, and dare I say, if not better. And that's something we've got to work better as a technical community towards. And I'll never forget a conversation I had with a professor, and I said, you're a professor of this, and and all the rest. And she turned around and went, in theory, you're a professor of labs. So your stuff way better than I do on that front. I know my stuff perhaps way better in terms of this. We just need to mesh the two together and realize we can work better as a community, as a team. So, and when she said that, I sat there and thought, actually, you're right. And that eroded some of that imposter syndrome. So, and it allowed for us to start having the technicians involved in committees, meetings and stuff, and doing stuff. So, yeah, I think imposter syndrome is a very hard thing to get over. Personally, I'm saying this for myself. I'm obviously working towards dealing with it, but and it gets harder when you become a manager, and especially when you're trying to champion your technical community. Like, oh, I've got to speak to people, and these are people who are professors. I'll never forget. I had to do a presentation in a university research committee, and I was absolutely nervous. And I had to do the presentation on a mouse which had one of those rolly wheel type things. And I was going, and my presentation was going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, because I was that nervous. And the chair of the university research committee looked at me and went, I could clearly tell you're nervous, but can I just tell you that was amazing? And I thought, wow. And what was nice was the room full of these very demanding professors were suddenly silenced, and they went, what can we do to help you? And I went, with the mouse, perhaps tell me not to get so nervous. And they went, no, with the technician commitment. And that's when I stopped and I thought, hey, why did I think? That's when you realize that imposter syndrome shouldn't be a barrier, but it becomes it, unfortunately. But you can use that as a way of sometimes getting others to realize there's a human being behind the surface here who does so much more. So, yeah, it's a challenge, but it's something I'm working towards. And I think for me, like I say, it's that multiple layered, because of the fact that, you know, in our Asian community, if you mention the word technician, they just think, oh, you're a cleaner. Then no, we're not a cleaner. You know, we do a lot more than that. So,
it's nice to hear from you about the imposter, because I think every technician up and down the country has experienced at least, you know, slight imposter syndrome, maybe day-to-day imposter syndrome. So it's really good to hear from you about how imposter syndrome, especially on both layers, for, you know, for culture and for work. I think it's a difficult thing to try and it's a difficult stigma to try and get rid of.
I think it helps to hear other people suffer from it as well. It's not just you thinking, I don't belong here, or this isn't what I do. It's the other person sitting next to you might also be thinking the same. So
it is true. And I remember talking to a professor who said the same. I suffer from this too. And I just looked and went, but you're a professor.
But why?
You know, how? I remember saying, you guys are gods. And they just looked at me and went, we're all gods then. We're all the same. We're all fallible. We're human beings. So I just thought, well, okay.
That's a good perspective to kind of look at things like,
leaning on to that, what advice would you give, or could you give, to someone in their early career as a technician? What, you know, you've been at Aston now for 27 years?
We go 98 to 2026, around about that, 28.
Yeah,
27, 28 years.
You've got a mature head on. You're in the technician, you're top of the pile, you could say. What advice would you give someone in their early career stage?
I think the first thing is be open-minded and be willing to take on opportunities as they arise. Don't be afraid to ask questions, you know, and you may encounter some negativity about the technical role. Actually see the positives to it. You know, the fact that, you know, I think you can see that more now. Technicians, like I say, being recognised on grants, technicians being on and spin outs, technicians being involved in teaching, leading teaching sessions, technicians leading committees that matter so much to them, health and safety, you know, there's various things. So I would say to anyone in their early careers is, you know, first of all, take advantage of all opportunities that's available. Be open-minded, but also look at mentoring or coaching to help you as well. So look for a mentor to sort of guide you through the choppy waters, if that's the right word, or the direction of your role, because sometimes it doesn't hurt to go, can I have a coffee with you, and just chat to you and say, you know, how do I develop my career? You know, what avenues do I need to think about? Certainly develop yourself. Our technical roles have changed a lot since 1998. And I dare I say in 2038 it will probably be much more different. So keep developing yourself. When there's a development opportunity to do that, networking is amazing. So the opportunity to network, whether it's in your own community of practice, whether it's like a simulation group, or whether it's like national groups like attending HETS, for example. So do that, you know, and just reach out if you want to talk to someone, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's what other forms of social platforms that exist. Do that. And the last thing I'd say is don't be afraid to show off your work as well, because we're bad at that times. So show your work off, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on LinkedIn or whatever it is, because that's where you get more awareness of people going, oh, that person's really good. I need to talk to them about that. And what's really nice is I see some school technicians do that. You see them saying, I've laid out this lab and I've done this, or I've cleaned my prep room, or I've done this. But the most important thing they talk about is I helped a student and this is what came out of it. And that's when I sit there and think, that's the key moment. That's the thing you should show off, what you've done really good there, because that's showing your impact.
We're so lucky these days with LinkedIn and stuff. You don't have to leave your chair to create your own network and get to know people in the sector and show your work off, which is lovely.
Exactly. I mean, I started sharing off our work on what's now called X. But it's become a really weird world as X. So I do a bit of it on Instagram, but it's more personal stuff of what I've done. But a lot of it on LinkedIn. And the reason for that is because our academics are on there. So I sit there and think, well, the more they see this, the more they go, oh, Joe Bloggs has done something amazing. Let's go and talk to them and whatnot. Or the opposite, we need to keep these people. We can't lose them. So
it's about saying yes and taking the step out the box, you could say. Though everyone loves their comfort box, I always use the old analogy of technicians like to hide in the basement. So a lot of technicians, our offices are in the basement of whatever building they're in. So they do like to sit and hide in the dark and not be noticed. So by just taking a step out the box and putting your work out there, or going to networking conferences, or just going to a conference to see what learning technicians are about, or to see, that is going to inspire or help you grow anyway. No matter if you get involved or not, if you sit at the back of the room and just listen, it's fantastic opportunity no matter what.
This time you'll be listening at the back, and next year you might be speaking. You never know. Every step is a step forward, right? So
it happened to me and Charli. That's why we're
And to be fair, one of the other things is what it doesn't just benefit you; it benefits your institution. So going to these network events. I mean, to give an example, I remember going to a safety meeting. I think it was in Cambridge. I can't remember exactly where. And I went away and went, "Oh my God, we need to do certain things." And we came back and actually implemented it. So you can. So there's lots of things you can do that benefit not just yourself, but community around you.
Yeah. Is there anything looking back over your career that you'd wish you'd known earlier or done differently?
That's a good question. Sometimes I do sit there and think, oh, I wish I'd done certain things differently. But then I always say that's a lesson to improve on.
Definitely.
So I mean, if I look back on my life, let alone my career, I never look back with regrets. I normally look back and go, okay, next time I'm not going to do that again. So I always say and I used to say this a lot to the PhD students, that every negative brings a positive and every positive brings a negative. In other words, those negatives are actually a good chance to learn a lot, so much from it, in terms of if a result didn't work, or if something happened that you think, oh, maybe next time I'll do something different. And the same with the positives. So why they bring negatives, because sometimes actually you become complacent. So you don't want to be complacent. You want to stay humble and good at your role. So for me, I don't think so. I think for me, it's always been a lesson to learn, okay, next time, don't do that again. Especially when it came to lab equipment, when I'm repairing it and I'm thinking, oh, nope, not doing that again. Don't touch the electrics with water. No, don't do that.
And then finally, to round up our great conversation, I've really enjoyed this conversation.
It's been brilliant.
Is there anything we haven't asked you that you will love to share with the listeners about your journey, or about just generally being a technician?
I think for me, it's just I love being a technician. It's brought so much opportunity, from a spin out, to research, being on BBSRC grants, papers, being a commissioner, all sorts of different things. So if I hadn't have taken those advantage of those opportunities, I wouldn't know where I would be right now. So I think for me, there isn't anything else, but I would probably just say that, I love being a technician. I don't think there's anything else other than I just love being it. I wouldn't. I think I couldn't live my life without being a technician, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
I think that really clearly comes across in what you've been saying and how you've been talking about your role and your career.
It definitely does. And for the listeners, obviously, we're recording on Zoom, so I can see Jiteen, and he's smiling through every conversation and every question and every answer. He just loves his job, and that's the desire of a technician. You just got to love it, and if you love it, then you're passionate, and it drives you forward even further. So I want to say a huge congratulations.
Thank you
for winning the Times Higher Outstanding Technician of the Year 2025. And thank you so much for coming on to today's episode of the Technician Commitment Podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's much appreciated. Thank you for sharing my journey.
Thank you for listening to the Technician Commitment Podcast. To learn more about the Technician Commitment, or if you're interested in joining, please visit the Technician Commitment website, which we will link in the description of this podcast. To make sure you never miss an episode, subscribe to the Technician Commitment Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.